In this video, we'll learn about place value. Did you know that a number can go on forever? That's right, it can be extremely long, and every single digit has a different value. In this video, we're only going to look at the first 4 digits. Let's start with the ones place. The ones place is always on the far right. This is the number 9 in the number 7,429. The second one from the right is the tens place, or the number 2 in this number. The hundreds place is the third one from the right, number 4, and the thousands place is the fourth from the right, number 7. Each of these digits represents a different value. Not just 2 or 9, 7 or 4, they have different representations in each spot. Let's talk about the ones place. The ones place is the first digit from the right. Reading numbers can be tricky because we read numbers left to right just like we do words, but place value always stays from the right side, which makes it a little different. The ones place also includes the numbers 0 through 9, which is numbers less than 10. We've now decided that the ones place includes numbers 0 through 9, but what happens when we get to the number 10? You may have guessed that when we get to the number 10, it takes us to the tens place. The second digit from the right is the tens place. It includes the numbers that you say when you count by 10. It's numbers less than 100. So let's think about this. Pretend we're counting and we get to the number 9. It's in the ones place like we talked about, numbers 0 through 9. But what happens when we say the number 10? Well, the 10 has 2 digits, a 1 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place. Let's think about this. That means that in the tens place, one group of 10, and in the ones place, there are 0 groups of 1. That makes the number 10. What if I go on to the number 11? Well, easy. That means I still have 1 group of 10 in the tens place and 1 group of 1 in the ones place. 1 group of 10 plus 1 is 11, which is what you can see that we have here. What about 12? Well, same thing. We still have 1 group of 10, and now we have 2 groups of 1. 10 plus 2 equals 12. Let's skip ahead to the number 19. When I have 19, I have 1 group of 10 and 9 groups of 1. But what happens if I add 1 more? That will make too many in the ones place. We can't have greater than 9. What happens now? Okay, so if I had 9 in the ones place and I add 1 more, we know that that means that there is a total of 10. That just means we can't have 10 in the ones place. That's another group of 10. So instead of 1 group of 10 and 9 ones, when we add 1 more, that just gives us 2 groups of 10, and we go back to having 0 ones. And that means we have the number 20. Now if you remember, we mentioned that the numbers in the tens place were what you count when you count by tens. So, the number in the tens place is the second digit, or the 1, 2, 3. But we can't have a tens place without the ones place. So, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. But what happens when we get to 100? You're right if you said that this would take us to the hundreds place. The hundreds place is the third digit from the right, and it includes the numbers you say if you were to count by 100, numbers less than 1,000. So let's take a look at the number 100. We have 1 group of 100 in the hundreds place, 0 groups of 10 in the tens place, and 0 groups of 1 in the ones place. But if we kept counting from 100 to 101, now we have 1 group of 100, 0 groups of 10, and 1 group of 1. 102, same process, 1 group of 100, 0 groups of 10, 2 groups of 1. Let's skip ahead to 109. What happens if we were to go ahead and say the number 110? Well, same process. This just means that the ones place doesn't have 9 ones anymore. We bumped it up to 10, which means that had to move over to the tens place. So now we have 1 group of 100, 1 group of 10, and 0 groups of 1. If we kept going, 111 has 1 group of 100, 1 group of 10, and 1 group of 1. 112, 1 group of 100, 1 group of 10, and 2 groups of 1. When we talked about the hundreds place, we said that it is numbers that you count when you count by 100. But remember, in order to have the hundreds place, we need to have the tens place and the ones place. So, we could use numbers 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. But what happens when we get to 1,000? No surprise here. It takes us to the thousands place. The thousands place is the fourth digit from the right and includes numbers that you say if you counted by 1,000, but the numbers are less than 10,000. Let's look at the number 1,199. We know that we can't have a number greater than 9 in any place. So, if we add one more, the ones place has 10. That group of 10 moves to the tens place. But now, that's 10 groups of 10 in the tens place. This means that we have another group of 100. So, we have to move this group all the way to the hundreds place. This means we now have one group of 1,000, two groups of 100, and we go back to having 0 groups of 10 and 0 groups of 1. Because if we kept counting, the ones place would start over from 1 again. Let's look at these circles and create a number. So, we know for sure there's not 1,000 circles, and we also know there's not 100 circles. So, if we created a little chart, we would put 0 in the thousands and the hundreds place. But on this chart, we've just included the 100s. Now, we need to make groups of 10 out of our circles. Here's one group of 10, here's a second group of 10. Can we make any more groups of 10? No, there's only 2 left. So, we put 2 groups of 10 on our chart. Then, we'd go back and look and see how many groups of 1 we have. We circle 1 1 and 2 1s. 2 groups of 1. This means we'll put 2 groups of 1 on our chart. So we can create the number 22. 2 groups of 10, 2 groups of 1. Let's look at another group of circles. We know there's not 1,000 or 100, so we can go ahead and put a 0 on our chart for the hundreds place, and the thousands, if we were including that. Next, we'll try and figure out how many groups of 10 there are. There's one group of 10, but we can't make another group of 10. So, we can record on our chart we have one group of 10. How many groups of 1 do we have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups of 1 to record on our chart. So, this means that we have the number 15, one group of 10, and 5 groups of 1. Great job! Let's review. Each number has a different value. In 3-digit numbers, the ones place equals groups of 1, tens place groups of 10, and hundreds place groups of 100. We also talked about the thousands place, which is groups of 1,000. It's also important to remember that you can't have the next digit without the first. If it's a 1-digit number, it's always the ones place. You can't have the tens place without the ones place, or the hundreds place without the tens and the ones place, or the thousands without the hundreds, tens, and ones. Every number will always start with the ones place on the right side. Great job!